John Park. He's Senior Research Associate and Director, Northeast Asia Center for Conflict Management in Boston. John Park, thank you very much indeed for joining as well. This seems to be official confirmation now that Kim Jong Il has indeed passed away. We don't know exactly what happened here, but what happens next?
That's a big question that I think a lot of people have been looking at very closely ever since his stroke in August of 2008. I think what we'll see really is differing interpretations of the viability of his regime. One side, I think, we'll see on the Chinese trying to see any signs that there is viability and reassert to everyone and remind everyone that North Korea is a member state of the United Nations and treated as such. United States and South Korea, I think, right now, will be watching very, very carefully for any fracturing of the regime and preparing accordingly.
What do we know about his son in terms of how secure is his son the anointed successor here? Because, you know, we don't know actually when Kim Jong Il died. It could have happened days ago, couldn't it?
That's the thing. Even if he had died days ago, North Korea, in the previous episode where Kim Il-sung passed away, we didn't know for quite a while. And so the fact that this news is coming out on North Korean state media so quickly, I think, shows a very different type of tone of what's happening right now. Kim Jong Un, the third son, had been in the process of being groomed for succession, and that was in an accelerated timetable to begin with. But I would say this is something that is much more abrupt than was originally planned. And so for Kim Jong Un, he's still in the leadership succession grooming phase. He is not ready for prime time.
Right. Well, you know, how secure is his position in the court is what everybody would want to know, because a vacuum of leadership would cause a lot of consternation south of the border.
That's right. And if you look at Kim Jong Un, the profile and his background, he is all of about 28, 29 years of age. And in terms of his titles, they're only months old. And so if you look at any type of credibility or legitimacy that he may have right now, I think right now the other candidates, the other senior officials, senior generals and whatnot, there is a question of who would come out as this caretaker leader.
Right. Well, let's also, John, have a look at the legacy he leaves here, because, I mean, it's a country where he sacrificed the building of nuclear weapons for a starving population.
Well, that is a period of time where the nuclear weapons program accelerated. But if you look at the overall trend, as North Korea went through this period of getting closer and closer and eventually testing their nuclear weapon, and this was in October of 2006, we see this process where gradually Kim Jong Il guides the country towards greater economic interactions with China. So the North Korea of today has a tremendous amount of interactions, both at the political and economic level, with China. So the story of North Korea right now isn't as a standalone country, but has to be viewed in the context of the China-North Korea relationship.
Well, with that in mind, will Beijing have more influence with the new leadership, assuming that it is Kim Jong Il's son there as well? And what will the South Koreans make of all this?
South Korea right now, I think, will be first trying to confirm all of the information, the circumstances of Kim Jong Il's death, the movements of what's happening inside of North Korea, vis-a-vis certain military units, as well as any types of communication that's happening between different groups in North Korea. Right now, I think the way to characterize it is the fog of the post-Kim Jong Il period, and this fog is one that is going to last indefinitely. We don't know exactly what the circumstances will be. But as all the various capitals try to reach out and try to get some kind of clarity out of this fog, the role of China and the influence of China, I think that will be the first question to ask right now.
Let's just also get some more news, which is just coming through on my Bloomberg right now, John. Just looking at what else has been saying that he suffered, this is state media saying that Kim Jong Il suffered physical and mental fatigue. This is the KCNA news agency here as well, and that he died on a train trip in the north of the country there as well. This is what we have. And also just reports coming through right now, John, that the South Korean military is being put on alert. This despite them saying that they have no changes, or they see no changes in the North Korean military here.
I think that's one of standard operating procedures. There have been a number of scenarios that the various countries in the region have looked at vis-a-vis their military exercises and the preparations. And the core one is the sudden death of Kim Jong Il. It's something that has been theoretical for many years, as the reports are showing look more and more actual. So I think what we're seeing is a standard operating procedure. But again, we're going to try to piece together what's happening and unfolding rapidly in the country. With respect to the military units in North Korea, how they're going to maintain their command control, who they're reporting to, all of those things will be monitored very carefully in terms of what's normal and what's not normal.
Let's just also, get back to the Beijing side of things as well. Will Beijing be able to bring more influence to bear on Pyongyang with the new leadership?
This is a critical period where there is no time to build up relationships or to connect to certain groups. What we're seeing right now are those external countries and groups who already have those pre-existing relationships trying to use those relationships to piece together what's unfolding. So with that, given the high level of political and economic interactions on the Chinese side, I would say right now that they're the ones who are in a better position vis-a-vis the other countries, but that's a relative statement.
Charles, let's just also get back to the South's role in all this. It seems, I was talking to one professor who says that, the aggressive stance that the North often takes is really just a plea for more money. Does the South keep giving the North money and indeed aid just to keep them at bay?
Well, this is a very drastic situation. I think the previous tactics and negotiating ploys that the North Koreans have used have manipulated and really gauged the circumstances of the other countries across the negotiating table. But this one is an internal factor, and how this all plays out, I think it's going to be very difficult, and the next few hours will be crucial. If there is some kind of spreading of information among the North Korean people, how the North Korean people react to this, if there is preservation of law and order, all of these things will be monitored very carefully by the different international groups as well as the countries. But I say the key thing right now is to look, again, in terms of the movements of different groups, different military units, and the messaging coming out of North Korea. The key thing is, will there be one message or multiple messages coming out of Pyongyang? That is something that will add either clarity to a very difficult situation or add more fog to a very uncertain period.
Just also here, we don't actually have any news yet as to who does take over. Of course, we know that his son has been anointed as his successor right now. When do we get something on that, do you think? It should be relatively soon, shouldn't it?
Well, the year 2012, we were just on the cusp of opening up to what the North Koreans and Kim Jong Il was heralding as the strong and prosperous nation, the beginning of a road where the North Koreans would attain a greatness. In terms of the military side, they feel that by testing a nuclear weapon device, they believe that they were a nuclear weapon state now. On the economic front, they were looking to build up the economic development activities and so forth to attain the prosperous part of the equation. But with Kim Jong Il's sudden death, all of that is now in question. And the leadership succession process that had been directed by him, I think we have to revisit if that is going to be something where there will be more continuity or change. But as it stands right now, how the inner group basically rallies and conforms to the message and sticks to the message, that's another key part that we'll be all watching very carefully.
Let's also just have a look at some other news which has just been emerging as well, and it concerns how long he's been dead. He apparently died at 8:30 a.m. local time on December the 17th, so just 2 days ago here. We knew there'd be some time lag between his death and the announcement of it, but just 2 days?
That's the shocking part. In previous period when Kim Il-sung passed away, there was a considerable amount of time that had passed before the world figured out that he had in fact died. And so for the North Koreans to officially announce this, and it's looking more and more certain that it is official news, to what degree that immediate few hours after his death was used to coordinate with the Chinese, what kind of signaling had gone on, all of those things hopefully will emerge in the next little while. But that 2-day period essentially is critical in terms of how the North Koreans use that time.
John, thank you so much for your time. John Park there joining us on the line from Boston. We're going to get a bit of market reaction now. I'm just going to get over to Charles Kim. Charles is from Mirai Asset Securities US. Charles monitoring Korea's markets from New York there as well. Well, we've seen what's happened on equity markets. There's been this sell-off on the Kospi, down nearly 5% now, Charles. You know, I suppose that was anticipated, but what do you think investors are looking at here with the death of Kim Jong Il?
Yes, I think immediately, I think what the investors are looking for is if there's any sort of uncertainty with regard to the succession of his youngest son, Kim Jong Un. And so I think what everyone's looking for is some sort of a clue to whether the succession is in place, whether it's smooth, and the transition is taking place as the announcement was made. Now, if we do see a successful succession, then I think the market could potentially stabilize in the next couple of days.
Right. Well, does it surprise you that it's just about 2 days since he died, and they've just taken 2 days to announce the fact that he has done so?
No, actually, North Korea doesn't work on a normal time. I think they do things their own way. I think they wanted to really prepare, for the uncertainty that they're going to face, obviously internally, with regard to the death of Kim Jong Il and the succession of his son, Kim Jong Un. So I think internally, I think they were going through some of the processes that they wanted to take care of before officially announcing to the world that he did pass away. So for me, it's no big surprise.
Yeah, his funeral date has been announced for December the 28th. Just want to also tell you that the North Koreans are saying they don't want to accept foreign delegations to pay respects here. We're seeing also right now, of course, the prospect of internal turmoil, and that is probably what people in Seoul are probably most worried about.
Yes, I think, obviously, with that uncertainty, that is the biggest concern. But you have to remember, back in February of this year, Kim Jong Un was officially announced as the vice chairman of the National Defense Commission. Now, that is the most powerful body. It was led by his father, Kim Jong Il. So, the process was already taking place at least, 9-10 months before his death. So, my view is that it's not it's not as bad as what people think in terms of the uncertainty within North Korea internally.
Let's quickly also talk to you about Bank of Korea, which is, of course, the central bank of the South here. They're going to be holding a meeting at apparently 1 p.m. today. That's local time, so basically in about half an hour. What do you think they'll be discussing?
I think, they're basically going to be concerned about the financial market. Obviously, the market's reacting negatively. What they're going to do is, in terms of stock measures, if the market continues to sell off, what could they do, to maybe stop the bleeding a little bit, and then to see if they can stabilize the market internally via government action. So I think what they're going to do is go over a few options that they have to sort of stabilize the market.
Charles, thanks a lot for that, Charles Kim.